Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of project scheduling with Primavera P6. Specifically, we are going to unravel the mystery behind two ways of defining critical activities, the total float and the longest path. Stay tuned. So there are two ways or two methods of defining critical activities in P6. Let's start with the total float. In Primavera P6, activities with total float of 0 are traditionally marked as critical. But is an activity with 0 total float always on the project's longest path? Let's find out. Also, we have the longest path method. This approach focuses on the contiguous sequence of activities from start to finish, which directly impact the project end date. But how does it differ from the total float method? Let's dive deeper. So total float, we understand the definition. The definition is the duration of time you can delay an activity without delaying the project end date. Okay, so total float looks at each activity slack. If an activity has no slack, meaning it cannot be delayed without affecting the project end date, it is considered critical. But this method can sometimes include activities that, while critical on their own sequence, don't impact the overall project timeline. So in their own sequence, so as you can see, these activities that are not critical here, you see what will happen to them. In their own sequence, they might be critical, but they might not be critical in the overall grand scheme of things. Okay. But on the other hand, the longest path method simplifies things. It identifies the single most critical sequence of activities. If any of these activities is delayed, the project finish date is directly affected, making it more straightforward way to pinpoint what truly drives the project timeline. So as you can see here, you have these critical activities. Okay, so all these activities in red are critical, and these ones in blue in green are not critical. Okay, so let's say we're using the total float option. Okay, so if we're using the total float option as our scheduling option, so total float is equal to 0 hour. Okay, so let's close this and save it. So that's our option. Okay, nothing seems to happen. But let's say one of this activity, now, this punch list and final touches has got finish on or before constraint on it. Okay, so that means you have to finish that activity on the 21st of November. See what will happen now if I schedule the program. See, all our activities in this program are now critical. Does it mean that if we delay this punch list and final touches, does it mean that our project end date will be delayed? No. But according to his own sequence, okay, considering his own sequence of activities, if you delay any of those activities, the end date in that sequence will be delayed. But now, so that's if you select the option of the total float equals to 0. So now let's see what happens if we change our scheduling option to longest path. So you go to schedule and go to options, yeah, and let's select longest path. Okay, and click on close, say yes, and click on schedule. You see what's happening now. So the longest path is simplifying things. It is identifying all these single activities that are most crucial to our project end date. If any of these activities are delayed, then the project end date will be delayed. So if you want as well, you can actually bring up the columns for your longest path and your critical path. Okay, so let's go to the columns. That's longest path and your critical. Okay, so you see now that's your longest path and your critical path. So let's go back to the previous option. So if you go back to the previous option, go to options and go to your total float equals to 0. So that's what we're defining our critical path as, and click on schedule. you see now that it's different for the critical activities. So it's depending on what your organization wants. So choosing between total float and the longest path depend on your project complexity and your specific needs. For me, the longest path offers a clearer picture of activities that are truly driving the finish date, especially useful during planning phase. So when I'm planning my project, I tend to use the longest path just to see what's actually driving the project. Another way to change your critical activities is going to your project, click on that project itself, then go to settings, then you can change it whether you want it to be total float less than or equal to 0 or whatever value you want, or you select the longest part. Okay, another thing you could do as well, you can actually filter out your activities with the longest part. So you can bring out the column in here, and just like if you go to your filter, just like you can create a filter, you can select a filter for critical activities, you can actually create a filter for the longest part as well. So I'll call this longest path, then come in here and say, and go to your longest path. So you see longest path is equal to yes or no. Then you can filter, you just have to filter out your activities that are in that path. That's my longest path activity. Okay. So guys, there you have it. Understanding the difference between the total float and the longest path in P6 can significantly impact how you schedule and manage your project. It's not just about knowing the tools, but mastering how and when to use them effectively. If you find this video helpful, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more project planning insights. Thank you for watching. Cheers.